Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Log Show here on this glorious Tuesday evening. I want to get straight into it, but obviously I want to say hello to everybody. What a wonderful weekend we had in sports and a very, very entertaining Sunday. For those of you who watched on Thursday, I did not expect Sunday to be as interesting as it was, but definitely was a very entertaining, very fun, very sloppy football Sunday, but nonetheless a fun football Sunday it was. Not only that, this weekend, we had UFC 307, which was an absolute, I don't want to call it an absolute blast. It was fun. We got to see Poton actually get challenged, which I'll get into later. Some controversy down on that card. Some questionable decisions. A lot of weird stuff happened on that card. MLB playoffs are in full swing. We got the Mets at 1-1 with the Philadelphia Phillies, with it coming back to Queens, I believe. Tonight, we have the Yankees 1-1 with the Kansas City Royals going back to Kansas City. The Dodgers and Padres also at 1-1. And then Tigers, Indians, I don't know. I have not paid attention to that series, if I'm going to be honest with you. So I don't know what's going on. Actually, no. I'll be honest. I have no clue. I have no clue at all what's going on in that series. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But I'll check in at some point, definitely. But yeah, that was what this weekend was full of. Not only that, for you WWE fans, we had WWE Bad Blood this weekend. For you professional wrestling fans out there, that was pretty entertaining. I'm not going to lie, that was fun to see the to see the highlights of, But nonetheless, I want to get straight into the news of today. Today was a big day for football, a great day for someone like me to have a small little podcast and talk about football, because right before I went live, we got big news, and earlier today we got big news. I'm going to start with the recency bias and go into the big news that just happened, and the Patriots and Gerard Mayo have announced that starting this week in Houston will be rookie quarterback Drake May. Drake May was the third overall pick in this year, or not third, third overall pick in this year's draft. And it cannot wait for him to see the field. A lot of people, this was one of those weird situations where you see a lot of people were definitely early, I apologize, but going into the season, early in the season, all of that, many people, especially in New England, were sitting there and saying, hey, this kid is good, but we would like to sit him. We'd like to sit there and wait to see what he could become. Last year at UNC, in his sophomore season at the University of North Carolina, he did have 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns. Now, I have not watched excuse me, I am getting over a cold today, so there will be some periodic coughing there. But now, as I'm saying, you get this situation where Drake May, I did not watch as much film on Drake May, I'll be completely honest, as I did the top two quarterbacks in Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. I watched the most on Caleb Williams, which is why I had such a strong opinion on Caleb Williams and still do, that I necessarily did not see everything the NFL scouts saw, but also I argued that I'm not an NFL scout. So who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows, right? But nonetheless, Drake May will be the fourth rookie quarterback to start for his team this year, behind, obviously, we have seen Caleb Williams. Obviously, everyone has seen Jaden Daniels ripping up the league. You have Bo Nix in Denver, who has now gotten his start, who has got, over the past couple games, has really gotten going. So you definitely have a lot of success so far this year in these rookie quarterbacks. I mean, Caleb Williams isn't playing terrible, but he's been by far the worst rookie quarterback, I'd say. But, excuse me. Nonetheless, you have a rookie quarterback coming in, and this is a situation where when I really break it down, I would have rather them just, I know it's only week 5, so you want to make the change and maybe get him some playing time and this and that, and this is what always happens, I feel like, with rookie quarterbacks and what goes on there with those rookie quarterbacks and kind of, just the fans and the media really want to get that young guy in after, a rough start like here in New England. You start 1-3. I mean, I don't feel a lot of people had a lot of expectations for this Patriots team, but you start 1-4. You lose a very winnable game last week against Miami at home. And so, a lot of people, a lot of fans, a lot of media, you start pushing for the young guy. But I don't think that this is a Patriots team that necessarily is ready for a young quarterback like Drake May to come in like he's going to make a big difference. You look at a situation like Washington, they've been building for the past couple of years. And you really look at where they are now as a team. I'm going to use them as an example because Jaden Daniels, because of their success. And I could use C.J. Stroud last year in Houston as an example as well. But, you look at a team like Washington where last year they were not very good at protecting the quarterback. They were not, they currently are middle of the pack in QB pressures. QB pressure percentage, they're again middle of the pack. They're not great. Actually, they're lower. They're towards the bottom. They're really towards the better half of the league when it comes to QB pressure rate. So you've built the O-line. You see that there in Houston again with C.J. Stroud too. You've built the O-line. You've built the. C.J. Stroud is protected. Jalen Daniels is protected. You end up in these situations that get scary with rookie quarterbacks, like we're about to go into in New England, where he's not going to be protected. That's what everyone talks about at the end of the day. It's the most important thing that everybody, everyone loves these skill positions. Everyone loves the wide receiver. Everyone loves the running back. Everyone loves the quarterback. But at the end of the day, you can't do any of that if the O-line is not in tip-top shape. The O-line isn't blocking well. This New England team has the highest pressure rate in the NFL. They have the least amount of yards per game. They're the highest in run percentage, or they're 13th in run percentage, so they're top half in run percentage. They're second in QB pressures, and then second in sacks allowed. This is not a offense that's ready for a young quarterback to come in. Drake May's going to be running for his goddamn life back there. And if you think a young quarterback he's had 5 games to sit, but if you think a young quarterback like a Drake May, who has only had, 5 games to sit, you think he's going to catch up to NFL speeds while only having 2.5, maybe, if that, seconds to throw and make a decision? It's a very, very scary thing right now in New England for them, I think. I really don't think it was the right decision. But, I don't know. I think as a New England, you look at this team, you look at this roster, you look at this O-line, you look at Drake May. I just invested a 3rd overall pick in this guy, right? That's what I just invested. I just invested My third overall. It's not often you pick 3 overall. And you're not hoping to pick 3 overall often. So you got to take advantage of that pick if you're a team. Like Houston did with C.J. Stroud and Anderson back to back. 2 great players. Right? Now, you had the 3 overall pick. You look great. You really do. You look like Drake May looked in college like he could be an NFL quarterback. So you have this situation now where you're going to take this guy sitting only a couple weeks with no O-line, with no protection at all. And you know, we'll talk about them in a little bit because Saleh got fired, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you look at the Jets, and it's a perfect situation of what could happen here in New England. And it's a weird comparison to make. But you look at the Jets when they were picking Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold and all these quarterbacks high. They couldn't protect the man. The man would get beat up and didn't know how to throw the ball. Couldn't make decisions. And it was rushed. And it gets in a player's head. It's a scary thing to happen. You know what I mean? You know, you have great situations like this where you have Sam Darnold, you know, now in Minnesota being able to get back to what he could have been. You know, or you have situations like Zach Wilson, where he's in that midst of what Sam Darnold was in. He went to Denver now to be a backup. But you look at those teams, they couldn't protect the quarterback. Drake May is young. Yes, Drake May has the potential to be very good. But to rush him into a situation where when you look at this roster, you're not going to win. What are you going to win? What more are you going to win with Drake May? Really? What more are you going to win as New England with Drake May? 2 games? Whoop-a-woo? What? You go 4-12 instead of 3-13? And maybe, you know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? It's like instead of maybe, you know, you win that 1 extra game. Maybe you lose a pick because of that now. And now Drake May, mentality-wise, is all screwed up. I don't know. I think it was a bold decision, definitely by Gerard Mayo and this coaching staff in New England. Like I'm saying, I don't necessarily think it was the right decision to make. I think you're jumping the gun here. I think you're panicking because, like I said, you suffered a bad loss against a bad team, an injury-riddled team at home. So you hit the panic button a little bit, I guess. But at 1-4 with this team, like, this is not a very good team. It's really not. Yeah, you got Seago out there at corner. You got a couple pieces. You got Ramondre, who's not bad, but he struggles to hold on to the ball. But Ramondre Stevenson's okay. But this team is not. You're not putting Drake May into this team at 1-4 and they're going on a 5-game run. I'm sorry, it's not happening. Like, that's just not. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't agree with it. I don't get it. I think as New England, why not just? I hate to say sell the season, but as New England, why not sell the season? There's no point. There's no point in putting Drake May in. I don't like. What? So he can get beat and battered and bruised for the next, what are we in? We're going into week 6? The next 10 to 11 games? That's what we want? That's really what we want if we're New England and we just spent a 3rd-round pick on this guy? You could end up like Zach Wilson. You could end up like Sam Darnold with that. You could end up like the New York Jets. You want to know where the New York Jets are? Because you guys got to give me that. Come on, that was a smooth transition. Right? Now it's not anymore because I had to point it out, but I'm proud of myself. Come on. I'm proud of myself. Smooth transition right there. That was a nice ease. But Robert Saleh, earlier today, this morning, was relieved of his duties, we'll say. We won't use the big F word here. He was relieved of his duties as the New York Jets head coach. Now, I do have some mixed opinions about it. I really do. in the long run, was it the right decision? Yes. Yeah. I think I say that. I think in the long run was the right decision for the New York Jets. I think you saw it with, Aaron's late in his career. He's not playing amazing. He's playing okay. He's not playing amazing. He's trying to fit stuff into windows that it seems like he can't do anymore. There's stuff that seems to be going wrong. But let me start here. Do I think it was Aaron Rodgers who went into Woody Johnson's office and got him fired? No. Do I think the offense had to do with the firing? Yes, obviously. I think also obviously team success has to do with it. You're sitting now at 2-3. I don't think as the Jets, I don't think at all you expected to be sitting at 2-3. Coming off back-to-back losses to both you lost to a tough one to Denver at home in week 4. And then you hope to go into London and bounce back in week 5, and you don't. But I think this situation after the Denver loss looks a lot better because at one point in that game against Minnesota, you were down 17-0. You rallied back. Your team showed some fight, which has to go into coaching somewhere in coaching. But here's what we'll start. I'll start with the stats that I found out today that really show why Robert Saleh should have been fired, right? Why should Robert Saleh have been fired? Why? Why are the reasons he should have been fired, right? He has the worst record as a Jets head coach with a minimum of 40 games. He was 20-36. He had the third worst win percentage over since he take over in the league. He was 30th in win percentage. Like I said, worst record as a head coach, minimum 40 games as a Jets head coach. Minus 26 in the turnover margin since he took over. The only team worse since that period of time is Carolina. And then here's the big one. Here's the one that shocks me, and I'm going to talk about this first before I get into the other things that weird me out about this. But again, like I said, in the long run, do I think it's the right decision? Yes. Genuinely, I think it is. But during Saleh's tenure, the Jets were outscored by 267 points in the first half. Now, you look at that. You look at injuries. You look at the way this team has been controlled since Aaron Rodgers has gotten there. You not only that, you're a highly penalized team. They also have 60 more penalties than opponents, which is the biggest penalty differential in the league since Saleh took over. So you look at those two stats right there are the big ones for me. I'll be honest, those two stats are the big stats for me. Where you look at Robert Saleh and you're outscored by 267 points in the first half, so you're not prepared. Going into games, your team is not prepared, is what that looks like. On paper, that is what that looks like. Especially a team where under Saleh, yes, they have struggled offensively, but they have not struggled that much defensively. Right? 267 points. Then you look at the turnover, the penalty number, I mean. 60 more penalties. Right? Now you're undisciplined. That's the argument there. That's where I see that. You're undisciplined. You're an undisciplined football team. To have 60 more penalties than opponents since 2021, by far the worst in the league. You're an undisciplined football team. So those two factors definitely go into coaching. I'm not going to argue that those two factors don't go into coaching. But you look at some other stuff where it's like, yeah, he might have the worst record as a Jets head coach, with a minimum of 40 games, but this man is the first head coach to be fired mid-season since Lou Holtz left in 1976. Since Lou Holtz walked out of being the Jets head coach in the second to last game of 1976, Lou Holtz said, I'm done, and walked out. That was the last time the Jets have had a coach be fired or leave midseason. This is the third coach ever in Jets history. This is the third time ever in Jets history that they've had a coaching change in the middle of the season. So Woody Johnson, right now, as much as I think in the long run this will work out, Woody Johnson, are you going to look at me in the eyes right now and tell me that this situation is worse than Adam Gase? Because you didn't fire him midseason. That was a dumpster fire. You gave him a chance to bounce back. You gave him multiple seasons to bounce back. He was there for 2 years. You know what I mean? Todd Bowles wasn't great there. He was there for 2 years. He was there longer, actually. Same record as Saleh, pretty much. He played 8 more games, had 4 more wins and 4 more losses. So it was practically even. You didn't fire him midseason. So that's where I question this decision. Is as the New York Jets, like, did you just play into the media? Did you just play into the hype that much? Where we've seen teams struggle. We've seen teams with these new quarterbacks struggle. Matt Stafford the first couple weeks in LA, it didn't work out. Tom Brady took him until the bye week in week 7 to get it together. I remember that team had a losing record going into the bye week. I don't remember exactly what week the bye week was. But they had a losing record in the year Tom Brady came to Tampa going into the bye week. Everyone was like, oh, it was Bill. Tom's washed. What'd they do that year? They won the Super Bowl. Has any team ever won the Super Bowl with an interim head coach? You know, I think it's obviously, yeah, you're coming off a bad loss. You have the long flight home from London. I think definitely plays a factor into it. You know, instead of that normal 4 or 5 hour flight at most, you're getting now a 7, 8 hour, 10 hour flight. You know what I mean? You're getting a long flight here from London to New York. And you got the long week, too. So you got a lot of time to think about that loss. I get that. But you're telling me Gase didn't get fired midseason? And you're going to pull the trigger this fast? You have a week 12 bye. I think, I know that's a long time to wait. But, let's say the Jets, right? You're sitting at 2-3 going into week 6. 9, 10, 11. You got 7 more games, right? You got 7 more games. Let's say at 2-3, you walk into the bye week at, I don't know, let me do them. Week 12, you walk in 6-6. Are you panicking? Because you could go 10-7 on the season? Because 10-7 is a playoff game. 10-7 might win the AFC East this year. You never know. You never know. The Bills could fall off. If the Jets win on Monday night, they're technically in first for the AFC East. So I don't get where you pull the trigger this fast. Like I've said multiple times, I get making the decision, and I think the decision was the right one to make, but I think it was made too fast. I do. I think it was made just a little bit too fast. You know, as the Jets, you look here now, you know, you're going into week 6, playing Monday night against a Bills team that is coming off a hard, tough-fought loss in Houston. That one hurt in Houston. After those coaching decisions that were made, that were the most questionable, god dang coaching decisions that I've ever seen. In that fourth quarter where they just don't play for overtime, the Bills want to win on Monday, man. The Bills want to win on Monday, man. That's not a team you want to face coming off a head coach firing. And an ugly one at that. You know, I saw all the reports. They didn't even let him address the team, and he didn't even get to tell the team he was fired. He was told and immediately escorted out by Jet security on that property. You know, it doesn't look good for the Jets the way that this was handled. I think it was pulled too early, and I think that's a problem with the Jets franchise is the Jets. And you know, you have I have a Jets. A lot of us have fans that are friends that are Jets fans, especially living here in New York. But you look at what is going on, man, and you just have to think like, is it just? Did they just, you know, like I said, they just pulled the trigger too early? Like, obviously you had Super Bowl expectations going in this year. Obviously you had high expectations going in this year. But you're pulling the trigger at 2-3? And you expect me to sit here and be like this? I know, I'm really coming for the Jets' whole franchise. I'm coming for their neck right now, but it's the truth. You're trying to tell me this is a well-run franchise where you're going to, after years and years of misery, years and years of misery, and I'm not saying that Saleh was the answer, and if you guys didn't make the playoffs or made the playoffs and lost in the first game, I would 100% say fire Robert Saleh. I'm not a Robert Saleh fan. But for you, after all these years of just dirt poor football, to at 2-3 with this team pull the trigger on your head coach is kind of crazy. No? I think it's completely, I don't know. The more I think about it, I think it's completely bonkers. You know, yes, especially, no matter what, I think, yeah, you might get a little bit of a boost. But no matter what, you were falling to 2-4 this week. It was happening no matter what, you were falling to 2-4. This Bills team is mad. I think you got a better chance with Saleh there. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, maybe even, I'm not, like I say give it to the bye week. Maybe you don't even give it to the bye week. Maybe you do give it until, you know, week 7, week 8. You give it 2 more games, and if you're, you know, 2-6, 3-5, then yeah, you fire him. Pulling the trigger at 2-3? When last year, you have to remember this too. Rodgers has not yet gelled with this team at all. Aaron hasn't gelled with this team one bit. He was going through an Achilles all last year. This is his first 5 games with this team. Yeah, there's going to be hiccups. And I think for Woody Johnson to pull the plug on Saleh this early, I think you had to at minimum give it another 2 weeks. At minimum, you give it until the trade deadline. See if you could get Davante Adams and see what happens. At minimum. Because now if I'm Davante Adams, I don't want to go to the Jets anymore. I don't even want to go there. What do you have? You have this situation where you have a bad head coach. I don't want to go there. It's a bad situation. I think this is a bad situation. Maybe, Mike, maybe, I see you in the comments, maybe there's an internal argument that happened. Maybe it is internal. Maybe, like I said, I'm not one to say that it was Aaron, but maybe it was. I don't know what happened inside the building. I'm not in there. So maybe it was Aaron. Maybe Aaron did go into Woody Johnson's office and go, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's definitely possible. Or maybe Woody and Saleh got into it over something. But I don't see the reason to pull the trigger this early. I understand that Saleh definitely had his struggles, but I think you at least give it to the trade deadline, man. I'm going to move on, though. I've spent a lot of time on this. I'm going to move on. But, man, I do. I think it really shows for what type of franchise the New York Jets are, and I don't know. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. That's a heavy one. Just talking to, yeah. We talked about, the Vikings look good against them, too. I do want to talk about the Vikings at least because I want to talk about last week a little bit as a whole. The Vikings did look good. This team, Vikings team is clicking on all cylinders, defensively, offensively. Sam Darnold looks good. The offensive line looks good. The defense is making plays. This Minnesota team is scary, man. They're for real. Sam Darnold just fits in that system like a glove. It's like a perfect parking spot. It's like I don't know how to describe how perfect it is. He knows how to read a defense. He's sitting there in the pocket. He's making smart decisions, just not pushing the ball down the field, not trying to make amazing plays with his legs like some guys are. He knows what he's capable of, and he's executing it to a T. He's getting it to his good receivers. Addison's back. You have Justin Jefferson. You have KJ Osborne. You have, sadly, you have Aaron Jones, who's now injured. He might be out for, hopefully he's not out for an extended period of time, but he's been amazing for this team. This Vikings team is the real deal, man. I can't wait to see what their matchups against Minnesota, or against Detroit look like later this year, because, they have a bye week this week after the London trip. And they play Detroit for the first time in Week 7, and then their last game is a Week 18 game. So that game could easily be for the division, easily. I think that's going to be an exciting. See how that plays out. I think is going to be extremely exciting. Like I said, this Minnesota team, Sam Darnold's just clicking on all cylinders. He has 1,000. This was a weird number to say that I didn't. I thought I wrote it down wrong for a second. He had 1,111. Has 1,111 passing yards and 11 TDs. So I think one might be his lucky number. Sam Darnold. If you were a betting man, I'd put it all on one on the roulette table because that is insane. Only 4 interceptions. Isn't turning the ball. He's not turning the ball over. He's not holding the ball. His time to throw is only 3 seconds. He's got 103 QBR throughout the year. He's playing very well. Obviously, like I said, you have Aaron Jones, who has 350 yards and a tutty this year. Justin Jefferson's been absolutely unreal this year. He's at 450 yards already through 5 games, which is absolutely immaculate. You got Jordan Addison, who's been coming back. He's been getting into it. So nonetheless, and at some point you also get Hawkinson back. Don't forget that. Hawkinson's still part of this offense. So at some point you get Hawkinson back too. So, or did Hawk retire? No, you have Hawkinson. He's just injured, right? Oh, maybe he did leave. Maybe I am completely wrong about that. Oh my God. No, he is injured. Okay, I was right. I was scared. I had their injury report up, and I was like, what? I was like, Hawkinson, not injured. I was like, what happened to him? No, he's injured. He's just not on their injury report because he's on the whole IR. But, yeah, hopefully you can get him back this year. And if you get – that's a dangerous team, man. That's a dangerous, dangerous team. What else happened last week? Let me think. Bears smacked the Panthers. My God, Caleb Williams finally looked good for a little while. And DJ Moore said, oh, Carolina, you got rid of me? Thanks. He went off. DJ Moore had 2 touchdowns, had 105 yards on only 5 receptions. Man was going off. That man had a day with the Panthers defense. My God. I'm just trying to get through the games that I didn't really care about first to try to make times for the couple games that I did. Packers get away with one in L.A. That was a fun one to watch. Jordan Love makes one of the craziest intercept pick sixes I've ever seen. That was absolutely insane. Broncos look very good against Las Vegas. You get that Surtain pick six. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful pick six by Pat Surtain. He's taking it 99 or 100 yards to the house. That was gorgeous. Gorgeous. Jaden Daniels looked amazing this week in Washington. He's been absolutely unreal so far this year. Been tearing it up down there in Washington. Has them at a 4-1 record. My God, Washington. Does that have them first in their division? I didn't even think of that. Washington is currently first in the NFC East. Wow. That's something. I don't know when I ever thought I'd say that sentence, man. Yeah, because the Eagles have. Yeah, the Eagles are sitting at 2-2 off the bye. Washington. Shout out Washington, man. Damn, shout out. They got a good old line. Jalen Daniels been playing so good, bro. So good. You got Brian Robinson down there. You got Austin Eckler down there who looks pretty good. He's been good out of the backfield. Damn, woof. Woof. What else? I got into the Bills-Texans game a little bit. That one was a fun one to watch for those of you who watched, as well as the Ravens-Bengals game. Those are the 2 games I'm about to focus on for a little bit before I get into last night's game and then UFC 307. But, yeah, the main takeaway I have from that Bills game is, sorry to the Bills players, and this is not something I think I've ever said. The coaches lost you that game. To make that decision late in that game is baffling. My professor said the other day, this is a quote from my professor, right? So I get because Houston has their 3 timeouts, I get throwing it on first down. You know what you do? You take a shot. You know, it's a tie game. It's 2020. You got under a minute left. You take a shot, right? You take one shot. You take one shot to see what, sorry about that. But, yeah, you have a minute left. You got one timeout. You take one shot. You take one shot on first down to see maybe I get 35 yards on this and maybe we can go score a field goal real fast. You know, we can hurry up, spike it, get a quick play, score a field goal. Maybe. But on the first play, Josh Allen almost throws an interception. So maybe I'm not as smart as whoever I'm not as smart. Maybe I'm not as smart as Ken Dorsey up there in Buffalo. Or Joe Brady, I mean. Ken Dorsey was last year. Maybe I'm not as smart as Joe Brady. Maybe I'm not. Really. Maybe. But to call that play, call another pass, and it's an incomplete, and then call it on third down and it's a skipper? You literally gave the Texans the ball in field goal range by just calling 3 pass plays. Like, what are you doing? At least after the first one, like I said, the first one's understandable. The first one I get. I get the first one. I genuinely do. The second one's questionable. But the third one is blasphemy. The third one is delusion. It's ridiculous to make that coaching call in the last 2 minutes of a game. Joe Brady, you lost the Buffalo Bills that game. Buffalo Bills fans, Joe Brady lost you that game. It's that simple. No more, no less. Joe Brady lost you that game. It sucks. Hopefully you can take it out on the Jets on Monday night. That's what you're hoping as the Bills. But I think the way that game was running, too, C.J. Stroud had thrown an interception. He had fumbled late in that game. He got strip sacked. You guys had the momentum. They just punted to you after a bad drive and got kicked out of field goal range. You had all the momentum, man. You had all the momentum, and you just took it away. You just right out of them. Slurped it. Sucked it right out of them. All the momentum right out of your team. Gone. It's insane what you were able to do there, Joe Brady. It's insane. Like I said, first one, understandable. Second one, questionable. The third one, delusion. Absolute delusion. Absolute delusion. I don't get that one. Now, with another 2 teams that have been huge in the AFC recently, like the Texans and the Bills have been, Ravens and Bengals had a classic matchup, like usual, last week in an AFC North matchup. The Ravens got away with an overtime win, a 41-38 overtime victory. Shout out Lamar Jackson for making one of the most absurd plays I've ever seen in the it was either in the third or fourth quarter. I can't exactly pin down what quarter it was in. But this man gets fumbles the snap, picks it up, rolls left, rolls right, looks up, looks like he's about to toss it out of bounds, throws it across his chest to Isaiah Likely in the middle of the end zone, throws it right up to him, a perfect dot. That was a Heisman-level play for an NFL MVP candidate. It really was. And he just played absolutely unreal. Obviously, you have Derrick Henry making that rumbling and bumbling run in overtime to set the Ravens up for the game-winning field goal eventually that was kicked in by Justin Tucker. But this one was an absolute classic, man. I said it last week on my show. I said, watch out for the Cardinals, watch out for the Bengals, 2 teams with bad records who are going to make these games close. And the Bengals did that and really did it well. They almost won the game if it wasn't for a bad snap in overtime after Lamar fumbled that ball away. Joe Burrow throws 5 touchdowns, does throw a late interception. Lamar throws 4 touchdowns. Both of them throw for Lamar throws for 348, which is almost 350. Joe Burrow throws for 392, which is an absolutely incredible amount. Jamar Chase almost had 200 receiving yards, while you had Zay Flowers almost had over 100. It was just an absolute classic of a game, back and forth for 2 by far the best the Cincinnati Bengals have looked all year. Just the loss hurts their record more because bouncing back from 1-4 is extremely, extremely difficult. But this is a team that has proven that they could do that before. Nonetheless, you look at this situation, I can't help but think that, Lamar with those fumbles late is big. Cincinnati, you had a chance to win that field. You had a chance to win that game. You fumbled a snap. I'm not saying that that's necessarily, that's kind of just a series of unfortunate events. It's kind of it's almost getting unlucky, really. If you're Cincinnati, it really is. and then your defense can't get a stop, and that's how the game ends. It is what it sucks, especially when you have a kicker like Evan McPherson, where if that snap and hold was good, it's probably going in. But I think you could take this. I hate to use the word moral victory because every professional athlete I've ever heard talk on any type of sports media, any professional athlete that I've had the honor of talking to through classes or whatever, they all say the same thing, which is moral victories are for coaches. They're not for players. But if they're for coaches, they're for coaches. If it helps this team, it helps the team. And I think it could be. I think this could go down as a moral victory for the Cincinnati Bengals, because by far the best Joe Burrow has looked, by far the best that the team as a whole has looked. They have made a lot of small mistakes that lead to losses, and this was another one. They have to polish that as soon as they can. I mean, they have their bye week coming up. They have their bye week not coming up very soon. They have their bye week 12, like the Jets. So they'll be sitting there waiting for a while. Hopefully they could get it under them, though. Hopefully they could really figure it out. And then to end the NFL slate for last week, we had an interesting game last night. I'll put it that way. As a Saints fan, I'll put it as interesting. We had an interesting game last night as the Kansas City Chiefs at home are able to get the win over the New Orleans Saints. They were able to get the victory over the New Orleans Saints, 26-13. And the reason why you look at, I think, like, going back to what I just said about the Bengals, I think the Bengals look better against the Ravens than the Chiefs did against the Saints last night. Genuinely. I think the Chiefs, still at 5-0, are by far worse than a lot of 4-1, a lot of 3-2, a couple 3-2 teams even, as of the moment. Yeah, it was something I knew about the Saints going into the week after the Philadelphia game. I wish I could pull up old clips. I wish I knew how to do that. But I know I remember saying this on Thursday as well, which was watch out for Kelce to have a big game. After what I saw with Goddard a few weeks ago against the Eagles, he was able to destroy the Saints. Kelce is only bigger, faster, stronger than Dallas Goedert. No offense to Dallas Goedert. Goddard, great player, but nonetheless, bigger, faster, stronger. He's a better tight end as of the moment. And you saw that last night. He had 9 receptions for 70 yards. Juju had an absolute day, which I would have not predicted. He was absolutely torching the Saints defense, getting wide open. I don't know if it was scheming by Andy Reid in that offense. I don't know what it was, but Juju was able to get open all night, as well as Travis Kelce. The Saints defense did a good job at bending, not breaking. They did a very good job in the red zone, I will say. You had the big man interception by I'm blanking on his name right now. Kalen Saunders. You have the big man interception where he took it out of the end zone. That was fun to watch. I was rooting for him. I was like, go! Go, baby! Go! Go, baby! Oh, I was so hyped for him. So shout out Kalen Saunders. Everyone loves to see a good big man interception. But nonetheless, the Saints, like I said, they look good in the red zone. They really do. They're the best red zone team so far this year. They look great against Kansas City in the red zone. The Saints only gave up 2 touchdowns in the game. If we're talking about touchdowns, it's a 14-7 game, which looks a lot better for the Saints. It does. Than, losing by 13. But they still got in the red zone. They still got the field goals. You gave up 9 points in the second quarter. You gave up a field goal late in the fourth, too. But nonetheless, like, the defense looked good. There's issues. You got Paulson and Debo. That's an issue. In man coverage, he's a huge issue. That needs to be fixed ASAP for the New Orleans Saints. Paulson and Debo in man coverage needs to be fixed as soon as possible for this team. It's just not Paulson and Debo, man. It's just not in man coverage and in everything, bro. He's just penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty. Stop it with the pass interferences. Not only that, you have that's the big problem on the defense. If I'm going to be honest, it's Paulson and Debo and his goddamn penalties. The offense, we have a lot of problems. Derek Carr, like I said, he returned to his average. You know, he's fallen off a little bit. He's not doing as well. He only had 165 yards, did throw an interception. It's hard for that offense had a struggle getting going. When Kamara can't get going, the offense can't get going. And a lot of teams are starting to notice that because the Chiefs were able to hold Kamara to only 26 yards on 11 carries last night. Couldn't get going out of the backfield either. Chris Olave only had 4 targets. Now, that I find interesting. I will say that. Over the past 2 games, ever since this whole Davante Adams thing came up, Chris Olave's production has dropped significantly. So, I'll say it here first, people. If the Saints trade for Davante Adams, expect Chris Olave to be a part of that trade. I don't know why. But maybe that would be the deal. You know, maybe the Saints are looking to do like Chris Olave in a 6th. You know what I mean? More of like a player-for-player trade than a pick-for-player trade. But I don't know. I mean, according to Schefter, according to Rappaport, the Saints are the most active team currently towards this Davante Adams trade. I know the Raiders have come out and said that they want a 2nd-round pick. The argument is there. You have Diggs, who went for a 3rd to Houston. So, if Diggs is only worth a 3rd, the argument is Adams is only worth a 3rd. So, you have that whole situation there, which is extremely, extremely interesting nonetheless. But, yeah, a tough one for the Saints. A tough one for the Chiefs. A tough win for the Chiefs. The Chiefs really need to put it together. They really do. Pat didn't throw a touchdown. Like, statistically, they looked good, but the eye test, they didn't pass. You know, the eye test didn't pass, especially late, especially in the red zone. It just didn't click. And now to end the show, what ended my All-Star Saturday night after watching the Yankees win Game 1. Shout out Alex Verdugo. Verdugo, I'm still here. Verdugo, if somehow you watch that and you recognize me, shout out you for coming to the Yankees after I heckled the hell out of you last season. But the night ended with UFC 307. And now this card was an interesting one to say the least. We saw a lot of excitement. Joaquin Buckley had one of the nastiest knockouts I have seen in a minute against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in the 3rd round of that fight. That fight already was good. It was 1-1 going in the 3rd round. The 3rd round was already leaning towards Joaquin Buckley. And then Joaquin Buckley, for those of you who are watching me on YouTube, does a beautiful little jab, feint this, right? Comes under with a straight, right? He throws this and then comes under. He throws this as a feint and comes under and comes in with the right hand. And Wonderboy just never saw it come in. Hit him straight in the nose, put him straight to sleep. A beautiful, beautiful performance by Joaquin Buckley. I can't wait to see where they go with him next. After, now he beat a big name. So to see where he could go next it will be absolutely fun in that welterweight division that, you now have. I'm trying to pull up the welterweight division here. They moved him up to 9. I like that. you have him fight like a Gilbert. I'd love that fight, actually. Looking at this, Gilbert Burns versus Joaquin Buckley, like that sounds like a good fight to make. Dana, listen to me. Dana, listen to me. Trust me, Dana. I'm good at this, Dana. If you ever hear this and you need a matchmaker, I think I'm good at this. I think either people on either side of them is a great matchup. Like a Gilbert Burns or a Jeff Neal. Maybe a Venom Page if you want him to try to see the adjustment there. You know what I mean? But he looked really good. You had Kayla Harrison beat Caitlin Vieira, I believe it is pronounced, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. That one was, how do I describe that fight? Domination, to say the least. Kayla Harrison is huge, man. She is ripped. And I'm going to get into the championship fight, the co-main, in a little bit as I'm running out of time here. But I don't think there's anybody after me today, so I think we might run over a little bit. It's okay for those of you on radio. But, yeah, Kayla Harrison, man, just like, it really just, whoa. She just dominated all three rounds. Like, she's just such a good judo fighter. And she gets the decision win over Caitlin Vieira. She gets a title shot. No, 100%. Ignore everything Juliana Pena said. Oh, my God. Oh, I hate Juliana Pena. I'm sorry if you see this, Juliana Pena. I'm assuming you're probably a really nice person in real life. But shut up about Amanda Nunes. Oh, my God. Juliana Pena, shut up about Amanda Nunes. She hasn't fought in 2 years. She's the greatest women's fighter of all time, and she beat you in the last time you guys fought. And you haven't fought since then either. You guys both haven't fought since 2022. Good job. You came back and got a BS win over Rocky Pennington. Good job. Shut up about this Amanda Nunes. Look for what's in the future. Because what's sitting below you right now, what is looking at you right now, is a specimen of a human being in Kayla Harrison. That is what you're looking at next, Pena, is a terrifying human being in Kayla Harrison. A girl who looks like she is 135 pounds of pure muscle. She's a judo gold medalist, and she has one professional loss. She is scary. You should not be focusing on Amanda Nunes, someone who is gone in retirement, who has her career as the greatest women's fighter of all time. You lost to her. Let it go. And you should have lost to Rocky. I am going to skip over the Holland Doladiz fight. I'll go back to the Aldo fight in a second because it's similar to how I feel about... Actually, I'm talking about Pena right now, so I'll keep it on the subject. But, like, to me, I had one 4-5 for the champion, for now the former champion. I had 1-4-5 for Rocky. It's just the way that I do fights always. I think the champ gets the benefit of the doubt in most first rounds, and I know that's a crazy thing to say, but I think in most first rounds, when you really break it down and you look at it, I think if there is no action in the first round similar to this fight where there was kind of just tapping back and forth, it's either you draw the round or you give it to the champion. There's in no way where in an inactive round for both fighters, where they both have similar amount of strikes thrown, you give that to the challenger who was sitting there and waiting. And then you had rounds 2 and 3, where I will genuinely say, Pena had her chance to win the fight. There was no way Rocky Pennington was ever getting up if she just took her down again. There was no way. But nonetheless, you don't finish her. You had the chance in round 2, you didn't get it done. You had another chance in round 3, you didn't get it done. And if anybody's going to sit here and argue with me that Rocky Pennington lost 4 or 5, you don't watch fighting. You've never watched a fight in your life. The only round that was arguable in that fight is round 1. Because 2 and 3 was clearly Pena, and 4 and 5 was clearly Pennington. And I think Pennington was robbed. As much as I do think Kayla Harrison deserves a title shot, I argue Pennington maybe deserves a rematch first. Because I don't think Pena should be champ right now. And you saw a problem with these judges the fight before with the Bautista fight. I mean, that one's controversial. I could see either way on that. I'm kind of split down the middle. But I think the big sign for the Bautista-Aldo fight that says that was kind of ridiculous was Bautista didn't get one takedown. It was all just time against the cage. Where if he slipped it, if there was one takedown that Aldo didn't defend, okay. 2 takedowns, he's 2 for 8 instead of 0 for 8 on takedowns. Like, I see that. But, for those 2 fights, especially the Pena-Pennington, man. Pennington got robbed. But that brought us into the main event of the evening. Alex Poatan Pereira. Versus Khalil Roundtree. And you know what I have to say about this fight before I go into any details about Khalil? This is my first reaction to the fight. Khalil Roundtree, for someone who was ranked 8 in the division, for someone who everybody gave not an ounce, not a second that he was going to win this fight. Nobody going into this fight. I had someone text me that they thought Khalil was going to get killed going into this fight. He by far gave Alex his best challenge since Izzy. Maybe his best challenge, period. Alex couldn't find him early. He was explosive early. He caught him early. He was doing great against leg kicks or against head kicks. Alex couldn't slip that kick in and kept wanting to, and then he caught him on him. Those first 3 rounds by Khalil Roundtree, he deserves such a round of applause. And as I sit here today, looking at the UFC rankings again, it is only right. I'm sorry, Dana White. It is only right that man moves up. I know you kept him at 8 because he lost. It is only right that man moves up. I think he's better than... I think you have him go fight Rakic or maybe get Blachowicz back, but I think you give him another big name. I'm genuinely serious. For what he did in that octagon that night, shout out him. Now, don't get me wrong. Alex got in flow state late in the 4th round. That 4th round was ugly, man. That 4th round was ugly for Khalil. Alex was just feeling himself, just doof, doof. Alex was feeling himself, just doof, doof, doof. And then ends him with the body shots. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful finish and a beautiful performance by Poatan, by Alex. But I think the name made in that fight was, I think all of us knew about Alex Poatan Pereira going into that fight. I think all of us knew of him. I think not a lot of us knew about Khalil Roundtree Jr. And he was the name made that night. And shout out him. Alex may have gotten the win. Alex may have gotten the belt. But Khalil proved that he, as of the moment, should be in the top of those rankings. And he can be one of the best light heavyweights in the world. So shout out Khalil. Now what's next for Poatan? I have no clue. I don't want him to go fight Drakus. Obviously, I want him to go fight John Jones. Now, he posted something on Instagram today, which was real interesting. It was a picture of Tommy Aspinall staring at him. I don't know. Especially, because here's the thing, right? We have John Jones Stipe in about a month. If either John Jones or Stipe Miocic step out of that fight, the other one will. It's either they're both fighting or they're not fighting. If neither of them are fighting, get this man on short notice, because you'll know he'll take it. You know he'll take a November fight after fighting or what he'll ask is it'll be like, give me later. Give me Shama. That's what he'll say. They'll offer him the fight, he'll go, Shama. Because he's that much of a beast, bro. Give him Tom Aspinall if this John Jones falls apart. Because I don't think Stipe's not fighting Aspinall. I don't know if John Jones should fight Aspinall if Stipe steps out, but he won't. Give me Shama. It's going to be 308s in a few weeks, too. Don't forget about that, guys. Just throwing that out there. Because John Jones Stipe is in a month. That's 309. 308 is Halloween weekend before Halloween. That's Ilya Max Holloway. Don't forget about that. I mean, we'll talk about that later. That's Ilya versus Max Holloway. And we got Robert Kamzat, Dan Ige. We got the Ankalaev Rakic fight there. Got Jeff Neal versus RDA. Damn, that's a card. You got Said Nurmagomedov versus Daniel Santos. You got a card at 308, and that's only in 2 weeks. That's all I got for you guys today. For you baseball fans, we got the Mets in about 2 seconds, actually. The Mets are about to throw their first pitch. So for all you Mets fans, go tune into that. The home game is getting started over, couple blocks from me, realistically, down the road, over in Citi Field in Queens. We got Game 3 also in the Dodgers-Padres series tonight, as well as Game 3 in the Tigers-Guardians series. As I said, I didn't know anything about that series earlier. They are tied 1-1. So all divisional series right now are tied 1-1, which is honestly what baseball wants. So, going into Game 3 tonight for the Mets and the Padres, obviously 2 teams at home hoping to get wins, hoping to take surprising 2-1 leads for both of them. And then tomorrow you got the Tigers, Guardians, then the Yankees, Royals, obviously hoping the Yankees can fix whatever the hell was going on yesterday. Pitching has to be solved ASAP. Aaron Judge, figure out how to hit in the playoffs, please. But yeah, I believe that is where I'm going to leave it for today, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on the YouTube. Everybody, for all you guys listening on iHeartRadio, thank you. If you guys do actually enjoy my voice and my screaming and my annoyance, please tune in to the live streams every Tuesday and Thursday, 4 to 5, as well as here on WSJU Radio. I am Logan. I will see everybody on Thursday. Peace out.